Okay.
Yes. Today,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about supply chain.
Yeah. Supply
I think
chain.
we talked about all the important major topics. So I think we're covering all the other side topics, which
We've done
one may.
19 videos, you
Mhm.
said.
This is the 20th video.
This is the
20.
20th.
Snigdha, no, this is the 21st because we have 19 over there, and then one I did with Srishti. So this is the 21st. So we are
Oh, yeah.
by the
Yeah.
end of this video we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Because
how
on the
I think
channel, it counts and tells
because
you that it's 19, that you have 19 videos. But yeah, if you put that here, then this is the 21st.
yeah,
Okay.
this is the
Yeah.
21st. So we are going to be the top 1% podcasters in the world. Been relentlessly speaking
Correct.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. One goal achieved already,
Yes, which is very
accomplished.
good.
Yeah.
Which is very good. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
good. I think, and all the other, um, mm, uh, like what do you call that? Auxiliary topics we've talked. I think supply chain we've not talked. So we can talk about supply chain today. And then I think mostly we've done with all the topics. We can now maybe go back and if we can make some more sense on all the topics, we can talk about all of them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like we've spoken about most of the things. Supply chain,
Yeah.
we have it as a separate topic. We have it. We might have, sorry, we might have spoken like bits about it here and there,
Yes.
about manufacturing or the warehouse. But yeah, we can put all of that into perspective. What is a supply chain? Why is it important?
Yeah. Yeah, supply chain is like a very intense and very deep subject altogether because it's an entirely a subject on its own because there are supply chain management for where people study intensely on just the topic about. I mean, even if you take from for a fashion or a textile fashion uh, retail business, the if you talk about it, supply chain even comes from the fiber, the fiber, and from cotton, where cotton is grown, and it can even go beyond fiber to even the the manures or the seeds that's used. I think we in our college also we studied about, sometimes we studied about the seeds, the GMOs, and the manure that you use. So supply chain is like for textile, it's a very, before it comes to the retailer, um,
Yeah.
uh, the fiber travels a very long journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. I think the supply chain is just the entire chain of where your product is coming from and finally to the end consumer. So there's like this entire chain of hands that it exchanges. Um, and that becomes the chain. The leaner it is, the quicker that means your product will be on the shop floor. The longer your supply chain
Exactly.
is, the longer it takes. So if, yeah. And then it is different. Like once we start
Exactly.
talking about it, like from manufacturing, maybe to just put things into perspective, if you understand the supply chain from a manufacturer's point of view or an exporter, I think uh, because that's the starting point,
Yeah, we
right?
can start from.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can start from yeah, that's kind of one of the starting points. Yes, for a retailer, one that's a major milestone. One can say, uh, yeah, we can talk with manufacturer of the apparel, like the garment manufacturer can be. We can take that as a point of reference, and then we can also talk about the retailer as a point of reference.
Yeah.
These both we
Yeah.
can talk about because if you go behind that there is fabric manufacturers and all of that will come. But I think from the garment manufacturer to the retailer we can talk
So
about it.
manufacturer or and an exporter, will it look similar? Do you think the supply chain looks similar for a
Yeah, so
manufacturer?
yes, when the manufacturer exports, then the entity becomes an exporter.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if they don't, if they sell on their own, then they just stay as like a manufacturer. Then they can even brand themselves and sell it. So yeah, depending on what they do, depending on
Maybe we can just pick a product
then
to make it to just simplify it.
yeah,
Like let's say apparel, because you're
a
talking
shirt.
about, yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about a shirt. I'll maybe share the thing, and then maybe I'll
Yeah.
I'll tell talk about. Hmm. So yeah, so we have a shirt that needs to be sold in in a t-shirt or a shirt that needs to be sold in a retailer, right? This at the retail store, this has to be there, or it can be in their e-commerce store.
So which
We can
becomes
take
like
this
the
as an
final.
example, and then
Yeah.
yeah, so for this t-shirt to be there, it has to be manufactured from a garment unit, right? Like a garment unit. But then it doesn't start from the garment, it starts much before the garment unit. So what is a garment? So a retailer may be giving an order to a garment unit, and or maybe working with the garment unit to produce this t-shirt. So at the beginning what happens is that in the this is a retail store, then we have the retailer at the
So
head
a
office of the
retailer
retailer.
could be working with vendors, or a retailer, like you said, a manufacturer could go into retail and have its own brand. Like Triumph, the lingerie brand, is a
uh,
manufacturer. It manufactures. Uh,
it manufactures on itself. Then there is a garment unit, but this garment unit will not be called as an exporter because it's their own brand, so they'll just call it as the manufacturing unit. If this entity is different from the retailer entity, say for example if they're outsourcing, then this guy is called then the garment unit is called the exporter. That's the only difference. If the retailer owns the garment unit, then the garment unit they call it manufacturer because they manufacture and they get it to the retailer. But then you have here there is a warehouse, and then in the garment unit there's a transit. Say for example, which is a ship or something like that. Yeah. So so we call it garment unit. It can be called as an exporter if it's a different entity exporter, or if it's the same, if it's owned by the, like usually all the lingerie brands usually owns the garment unit. I think even Victoria's Secret, they have a JV with a Sri Lankan company, and they own all the manufacturing units in Sri Lanka, and so is Triumph, right? They
yeah, I
also
think
own all
Triumph
the
does
or
manufacture for Victoria's Secret as well. So it does like
oh wow.
mostly manufacture for itself, but there are certain products where it has the technology, and it was like at that point it was manufacturing for Victoria's Secret, for a lot of other lingerie brands, not just Triumph. But now I think maybe what you're saying, the
Yeah.
Victoria's Secret would have tied up with a factory directly.
Yeah, maybe could
Because
be,
even like the
or it has
assortment
its own
everybody
factory and then it
carries,
must.
yeah.
So that's why the person in the retail working at the retailer who's handling the brand merchandise is called a buyer, because usually the person this person will buy from the manufacturer, from the exporter. They will buy from the exporter, and then this person who talks to the buyer who sits in the merchant in the factory is called an export merchandiser,
Yeah.
which is covering a little bit of a roles also to understand who does this work. So buyer talks to the export merchandiser, and then the buyer says that hey, next season I have like a riveted or a a lot of buttons, a t-shirt. I want buttons in the t-shirt, and then there is a different type of a print that's there in the t-shirt and all of that. The buyer talks about it. So now first the export merchandiser doesn't have any understanding about the garment. So the buyer tells the designer to make a tech pack.
Yeah.
It's called a tech pack. uh, which has the technical specification of the entire thing. So even before the tech pack, the first version of the tech pack is just more of an aspirational or a visionary tech pack, which is sent to the export merchandiser. Now the export merchandiser goes into the market and finds out whether that garment is there, or this print is available in the country, or these buttons are even there, that can be manufactured at scale. Because the buyer and the designer, maybe it's more of an inspirational and a visionary thing, a futuristic thing that they might have put together. But the export merchandiser finds out whether that aspirational thing has become commercially available. Can the printing unit get it done? Can the fabric get it done? Can the trims be available on at scale, so that they can ship the whole T-shirt for 1,000 pieces, 10,000 pieces, whatever, 1,000 pieces, 5,000 pieces, 10,000. Okay, is this aspirational thing at scale? So the first is called the prototype. They make something called a prototype, and in the prototype, the merchandiser gets very similar fabric and the similar print and the similar trims, and sends it back to the designer. So after this prototype is done, the buyer designer checks it, and then now the a little bit of an practical and an actual tech pack is made, and then again sent back to the merchandiser. Now the merchandiser, now they make size samples, I think. Then they make an actual sample. Like after the prototype, they make actual one sample, and then after they make one sample, but this print, it's dimensional, right? Like the print, it's not like a digital thing that I can find this t-shirt and then scale this t-shirt to 10%, 20%, 30%. In a garment, it is fitting on a human body, so it's three-dimensional. And if you want the print to be on the chest, it has to be on the chest. So the placement of the print, the placement of the trims changes with size. That's the difficulty in the garment. It's 3D. Humans are three-dimensional. So the intent of the print or the trim has to be at the right place for different sizes. So what they do is they do something called a size sample. So they do jump sizes. They do maybe M, they leave L, and then they do XL, and then they leave double XL, and then okay, M and L usually they do, and then they send it this again to the designer buyer. So the designer buyer again checks, okay, M, the same print and trim looks here, the placement is correct. XL, it looks off, and then they make corrections, and then the salesman sample, the size sample is done, right? So the after the size sample, they make like 10 or 12 or some amount of salesman sample. So this is the salesman sample. So this sample goes back to the buyer. The buyer takes, in case the buyer takes to all the retailers. They do a road show. They call all the retailers from different countries, all the general managers and the retail heads from the different countries, all the retailers who understand the customer, and they do a road show, something called a road show. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
just make
or
it.
a buying event.
Yeah, a buying event, roadshow they do, where they call internally, if they're a brand, then they'll call all the retailers, they'll party, they'll show all the salesman samples. Why 10 salesman samples? Is maybe the retailer is present in 10 different countries, so there'll be 10 different roadshows that will happen, and it will be shown. And then these retail heads, you know, the area managers, or the entire country managers, they will say that okay, this style seems, I have seen at the practical level, these styles may win, these styles may not win. So they bet, and they say, okay, this X style I need 100 pieces, and Y style I need 200 pieces, and Z, I know that this will do really well, I need 1,000 pieces, and so on and so forth. So all of these sizes are collated together from different countries, different area managers, different country managers, and then put together and given as an order to as a production order. This is how these are the activities that happens before production. Meanwhile, the export merchandiser will be trying to source where the fabric is coming from, majorly fabric, trims, and then trims, print, and then the fourth could be wash.
Yeah, the
The export
wash, the
merchandiser would
finish.
check for other units. Yeah. whether this fabric can come, this trims can come, this print can come, this wash can come. They kind of check. So and parallelly check so that they can be ready for the production thingy. So once they get the production, now the export merchandiser is very comfortable with all the things because he or she had the time to do the research. Now it goes to the production unit. So even though it's an exporter, all these things that was happening used to happen in the sample unit only. This all of these till here the entire thing in the supply chain, this entire thing happens in the sampling unit. It doesn't go to the production unit because they will not
Yeah.
mess with the production unit because the production unit is sampling unit is optimized for creativity and the production unit is
Yeah.
optimized for efficiency. So they cannot make it in at the production unit because if the sampling unit goes into the line, then that can severely affect the production of whatever that they're doing. So the production unit, which is optimized for the efficiency, now again the production unit makes one sample. This is called the production sample to tell that hey, at the production level my team everybody is okay with the style. Then the merchandiser, then they will have a production meeting, I think the sample production sampling meeting where the merchandiser who knows the export merchandiser that we talked about,
Yeah.
who knows the best about about the garment because he or she has already worked this long, so he knows really what the buyer wants, how did the journey of the entire sample, they would know how it started and what happened to it and what are the what are the preferences of the buyer and the designer. Everything they would completely study and they will have like a clear understanding of each style. So now the export merchandiser and the QC will evaluate that whether the production was able to do it, otherwise they'll ask for another sample and so on and so forth. And then it goes to the production, this is production unit, and then it goes to production. So
Yeah.
production, and then after production it gets after production what happens is at the end of the production the export merchandiser also talks to the shipping company and books the what do you call that book an entire what's that called the
Line. No.
that moves the ship, the big containers.
The container.
You call
Okay.
it container, no? They they book the containers because they have to pre-book the containers, otherwise the containers can be rented by somebody else. So they pre-book the container, they understand that what is the production, so they pre-book the containers and then fix an approximate date, and then the shipping company will also tell that hey, my ship is going to leave at that time, so you have to give it at this time, this date, and all of that, and everything. The container is pre-booked, and then the production goes into the container. That's where the transit happens, which happens the ship, I think from India to I think Europe is somewhere between 2 to 3 months or something like that. So this it stays in the transit for a very long time. Yeah, and then after it gets transited, then it goes to the retailer's warehouse. So this is
Yeah.
till here, it's one kind of a journey.
Yeah. I think just understanding
And then
this,
from when it
looking
goes to
at
the
this,
warehouse,
yeah, just looking at this makes sense because when we had a conversation with Shrishti also, we were saying that at any given point of time, we are planning ahead, like almost like 12 months ahead. So right now, you're planning like spring, summer 2027. So this just puts it into perspective, all the background work that happens and then the movement of product, it takes time. So you need to be like on top of your plans long, keeping the lead time in mind. So I think this chunk of whatever you've explained so far
yes.
explains that part of planning and forecasting. Yeah.
And yeah, and why you have to plan ahead, and even if you why if you make and also that it also we talked about in OTB that why we cannot correct something immediately. It takes at least 3 to 4 months to correct because there is a lead time. So even if we air fried the whole thing,
Yeah.
also then still we need like a 2 to 3 months time because the exporter needs that much time for to find a line available in their factory to put that garment and then get it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Correct.
yeah, so that's and then I think I forgot to mention a couple of other things also that can happen here. So here, so the production, when you ask the production unit also, the production has something called the line. Line means that all the machines are kept in one line, where they start with, attaching the front to the sleeve, then the sleeve, no, actually they attach the front and back gets attached first, and then the sleeve gets attached second, then the collar gets attached, then the trims gets attached, and then the embroidery gets attached, then it goes for the printing. So it happens in a line. So the garment from back to front, it happens usually. And then, so when this happens, there are two types of QCs that's there. One is a line QC, will stand at the line and find out whether there is any issues and try to control any issues at the line. Second is that after the complete garment is done, then there is a like a inspection that happens after the production is complete. So there are two quality control that happens. Also in the line there is something called, there's a line planner who plans the line. There is a production manager, of course, who has all the line under his or her control. And then along with the line planner, there is also what's it called? Forgot the name. Who calculates the time of the production. I'm forgetting the name. So they time out every operation, and so that, say for example, the line need not be in one line. Say for example, the front and back gets attached, and then the left sleeve has to be attached, then the right sleeve has to be attached, and then the button has to be attached. So sometimes some operations are slow, so that then only one operation happens. Sometimes certain operations are very, no, sometimes the operations are fast, then one operation happens, or I'm mixing. Yeah, sometimes the operations are slow, then one operation. I was right the first time, and then sometimes the operations are fast. So then, so that the line should not get clogged. Then if the operations are fast, then it goes to. So this is a fast operation. This is a slow operation. So then he or she can pass it on one, and then this will get done, and then this person gets it finished fast, and this person will pass it on to this person, and then this is a this is again a fast operation. So this person receives one and then finishes, and it goes forward, and then he or she will be free, and then he or she will take from this machine. So the line planning is also timed out, and then given to the line planner, and then they plan the whole line, and then they work on an efficiency. So this is also, when you talk about the movement of the garment, this also can be understood.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the person who does the timing.
Like,
Uh,
okay, like some technical
yeah, so it's a very analytical
role.
job. They have to find out all that. Yeah, they have to yeah, it's a very right brain job. It's a very analytical job. So they have to
Okay.
actually find out what timing, um, and then yeah, and then they figure
Okay.
that out. So that's what it happens in the manufacturing bit of it.
Yeah.
And then coming to the manufacturing
Yeah.
part.
So just to simplify it, what we're trying to understand is that once a customer needs a white shirt, like a shirt that you've drawn there, we are just looking back at all the entire chain. So right from raw material, so you have to ensure, so the raw material needs to be taken care of. There would be, I don't know if they're called like raw material producers. Then it's sent to a manufacturing unit. From a manufacturing unit, after it's gone through all those processes, it goes to distribution, which could be the retail stores, e-com, wholesale, and then finally from
Yeah,
there it's pushed out to the consumer households, or the customers. The customers will
yeah,
come and buy from the stores. Um, yeah. So where does, so
yeah,
do we need to, like, now for the next half of the chain, do we need to like look at it from the perspective of a retailer? Because retailer will have
yeah.
their own supply chain.
Supply chain things, yes. So okay, so let's probably talk about the,
So maybe like the simplified understanding is from raw material to customer, and then everything falls between that. So raw
yeah,
material producers, and then the end consumer, and then between that are your manufacturers, your distributors, your retailers.
exactly, yes. Exactly. So yeah, so then in the warehouse, then what happens is it goes to a centralized, usually at the retailer side, it goes to a centralized warehouse, usually. Correct me if I'm wrong, centralized
Usually, like,
warehouse.
but I think Amazon does
Like you
have
said
like
that they,
decentralized warehouses.
that can also happen. Yeah, Amazon has a
Yeah.
decentralized warehouse. So yeah, Amazon has a
So the
decentralized
I
warehouse.
don't know if
So
the concept
so
of
they
centralized warehouse is like,
Ah,
yeah,
centralized and then there is a decentralized. So there are two concepts that can happen. Either you can have a centralized
yeah,
warehouse or you can have a decentralized warehouse. So Amazon has a warehouse
yeah.
in Bangalore, it's got a warehouse in Mumbai, it's got a warehouse in Delhi, all of that.
All the important cities, yes.
And the other example, yeah, all the important cities. And the other example that we talked about is there's a centralized warehouse where mostly Bhiwandi, you were talking about Thane, right? Thane,
Yeah, yeah.
in
Bhiwandi,
Bhiwandi
yes.
is where
The
the all the
place
most
was
of the central
Bhiwandi.
offices are there.
Yeah, I just like
Yeah,
I forgot the
in
name.
Thane,
You've
that's where
reminded
the
me.
centralized warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like
So yeah, I
remember my
used to go
travel to Bhiwandi,
like
Mahesh. It wasn't
yes,
like an easy place to
yeah,
get
I do
to.
remember. So first you have to take one train, then you'll have to change the train, then
Yeah.
you'll have to go
Take
into
an auto,
another auto,
something,
then you have to go in a shared auto. Yeah,
and then
shared
walk
auto, and
also.
then
I
they
think
have
I'm
to go.
sure I
And
walked
at that time,
also. And
yes,
then
we
you
had to
spend your
walk. Yeah,
whole
just
day at
from
the
the shared auto,
warehouse.
we
It's
have
not
to.
like you go there and you go out for lunch. There is nothing there. There was nothing there, only except for
Nothing there.
warehouses.
So
Yeah.
the first time I did not know Hindi, I did not know Marathi. My boss just told all of this step by step. So you go straight and then you'll find one block. There will be a board from there count one, two, three warehouse, and then there'll be a right turn. And then from there you count three warehouses and then something something and then he said that that's where our warehouse is going to be.
Yeah.
So I actually wrote it down and then he repeated it again and then he called another guy and then he repeated it again because to check whether he told it right because otherwise I'll get lost. So I went like that 2 hour journey. I went with just a piece of paper memorizing what I need to do. And luckily, but then luckily when I was about to search for the warehouse, somebody from the same organization was also either going or they were coming. So I caught
Okay.
hold of him and then he showed me the way. But
Yeah,
I was
yeah. Because
almost in the right. But it
yeah,
was
because
like a
this is like
thriller.
time when we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have Google. It was like a
Yeah.
piece of paper and some directions and some landmarks given to
We
you.
had phones,
But
yeah.
I
We had
think,
phones. We had mobile phones, but they were not
yeah,
smartphones. Yeah. There was no Google
yeah,
Maps at that time.
yeah. Like
So
luckily,
it was
I didn't have to
crazy.
travel alone. I've traveled with like people for a training, something in the warehouse, or yeah.
Uh, they
So
sent me because
that
there was
was all
some
good.
yeah, there was some chaos happening, and then the general manager also had like really important meeting in the office, and both was happening, and then he said, "Why don't you go and you sort it out yourself?" But it was a good experience because I went alone and did all of that. Somehow I went alone and I talked to them and I figured out what the problem was, and I sorted it out and I came back. So everybody was very happy. So it was a
Yeah,
fruitful
yeah.
travel, but it was like a like a nightmare.
Yeah,
Like it was a
because
very thrilling. For
I
like 2 hours, I was like totally.
yeah, I think warehouses are pretty quite different, and I think from Lyft we did visit lots of export houses, manufacturers that we had seen. But I think the first warehouse was Wellspun. Like I saw the warehouse Wellspun for the first time, and then like later
Yeah,
on,
because it
obviously
was
all the other brands. Yeah,
yeah, he's a very
but
interesting
then
manager I
that's
had.
what that gives you an understanding of how manual the job finally becomes. So it's not like
Yes,
on our
yes.
documents we're just looking at like this whole order needs to be sent to the stores, but the whole order needs to be processed first into the in the warehouse. It needs to be inverted even if it's
Yeah, it has to
arrived.
be inverted in the warehouse. Yes. It has to be, they call it, no,
Yeah,
it has to be inverted in the warehouse. And when they
yeah,
invert in the warehouse also, there are two slips that is given apart from the main copy. The one slip goes to the warehouse, the other slip actually goes to the retail merchandiser so that we know that this has been inverted and then the retail merchandiser can talk to the finance team to make the payment for the vendor or the exporter. So because the retail merchandiser also has to know that it has come and then the warehouse guy also has to know that X and Y these pieces have come. So then this it gets inverted. One slip stays here, the other slips goes to the retailer, and then the retailer consolidates and then sends it to the finance team, and then so that the payment happens to the manufacturer. So that's something that's some paperwork that happens. And then apart from that, when it gets inverted in the computer, then from the centralized or the decentralized warehouse, it goes to other, from the decentralized or the centralized warehouses. From the centralized warehouse, it goes to it further goes to other warehouses. Say, for example, from Bangalore, it goes to other smaller warehouses, the city warehouses. If it's an e-commerce, or otherwise from the decentralized warehouse or the centralized warehouse, it goes directly to the retail store. Usually the retail store has a back, what do you call that, like a goods kept at
Yeah,
the
a back
back of the
store.
store. It goes to
Yeah,
a
like a
back store,
storage.
right? Yeah, a back
Yeah,
store.
back store. Yeah,
It goes to the back store. Yeah, yeah, and then where they
and they
get
also have
in,
like a
where
holding
they also
capacity.
invert, and then the same slips.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they will have a hold, and then this has to, and all this holding capacity has to be communicated with the retailer at the beginning, so that there is no, overstocking, and there is no clogging of the entire system. And any slightest of the issue, that's why I think it's an intense study, because you have to optimize so many things in terms
yeah,
of resources. You have to optimize in terms of time, optimize in terms of money. All of that has to be optimized in terms of warehouse, like inventory control, like in terms of number of garments. You should not overstock, because not just there's money involved in renting or spending on the space. There is the product cost itself, that you're holding, which could have been as a working capital, and the company can use it for some other better use, rather than just staying
yeah,
as products which are not selling in the. So it's a very intense, perhaps it's a very intense subject. That's why there is a separate, post graduation, separate undergraduation study for even supply chain. So then it goes to the retailer, and then the retailer starts selling it. So this is on a macro kind of a thing. And then so this is the macro thing. And then here also, um, what happens is that there's a transport agency that will coordinate with the warehouse manager, and then the warehouse manager usually runs the transport agent. I mean, takes care of the transport agency, who will take the goods from the shipping yard or the airport, and then they take it to the centralized or the decentralized warehouse, and then from there they send it to all the different cities. And then because it
mm,
goes to different cities, in a place like India, every state has a different state tax.
yeah,
Now, some certain portion is being centralized by GST, but still there are some state taxes. So then they have to comply with a lot of compliance. They have to make sure that they have the place of origin where it is coming from, and so and so forth. So that it goes from one state to another, and they have to make sure that all the paperwork is good. Otherwise, the truck will be held at at the border crossing of different states, and it can also really affect the delivery of the goods on time.
yeah,
So all of this is done so that the merchandise comes on time, so that the customer can use something. So because that's what the in retail, that's that 4 hour. 1 hour is the right time. So the time is between 4 P's and 4 hours. The promotion has been replaced as time, because the
yeah.
underlying understanding is that you don't need to promote if you have the product at the right time, right? It
Mm-hmm.
sells for itself. Say, for example. Yeah, so therefore the whole, what do you call that, supply chain is very very important, because it's very closely tied to the time aspect of the 4 hour.
Yeah, yeah. I think yes. I think if you work it backwards, so if you want to have a certain product in your shops next year for January, you just work it backwards, and then it will give you an idea of when do you need to place that order. When and before placing that order, the
Exactly.
whole exercise of getting the sample right, choosing the right color, the right print, the right placement of the print on the product, everything, the fit and everything, all that has to be worked again like backwards. But usually, like again, we've had conversations, but an established retailer would have established that. So and if, let's say, like, a retailer works with different vendors, you would know that these are the timelines that I need to work on, and this is my cutoff date for finalizing the sample. So if there needs to be any edits, it needs to be done prior to this date. So then you understand that, okay, the
Right.
lead time with this vendor is longer, this one is shorter, this one is shorter, because sometimes I remember Gonza in China. It would do a lot of ready-made stuff like jewelry and hair accessories
Yeah.
and tiny purses, and so lots of accessory would just come out,
Carnivals.
which meant that just importing that in India. But now I think there's this whole thing of manufacturing everything in India. But I'm sure Gonzao China still does massive
Even
manufacturing for
yeah,
everybody.
import in India because there
Yeah.
are
So that then
certain
that
things
lead
that can
time is where, when you're just picking up a ready-made product, the lead time would be shorter. But when you're doing all this from right from sourcing cotton, or just yeah, just cotton fabric, just from there to actually selling a shirt to the customer, there, this is the whole process. For retail, if you just want to understand the supply chain, it would be, for a retailer, there would be that forecasting and planning, and then there would be a bit of product development. Once you've forecasted your that I need like 100 options, and then you start working on product development and design with your vendors or with the manufacturing unit. And then once that's finalized, once everything's done, it is and it's manufactured, it's sent into your warehouse, and from the warehouse it's distributed to your retail stores, or if it has to go to a wholesaler, it goes there. And then for website, yeah, that, then that those become your channels of sales, and then finally your customer. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's true.
that is what it would be. But yeah, within every little, what do you call it, so within a retailer also, like, there are different activities that you're doing. Like when you're planning, you're doing different things. When you're designing and developing a new product line, you're doing multiple things. There are lots of coordination that's happening there, which becomes a part of the supply chain, I would say, every time it exchanges. And yeah, yeah,
That's true.
um yeah. And I think so the clearest thing, or the easiest way to understand it, is from right from where you said that producing, you said, you spoke of the seed, the seed being grown like a cotton seed, from then to the final actual product in the hands of the customer. So all that this travels is a part of the supply chain. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And usually, like, big retailers would have a supply chain or a logistics team, whatever they call it as a function. But it is also like a key department in big retailers. Or if it's a leaner team, then you have people who have an understanding of this, or who can manage the supply chain also, would become like a bit of your role if it's a lean organization. Yeah. Yes. Because
Yeah.
I when we were talking about the roles, Mahesh, did we talk of supply chain managers? There would be like a supply chain head in a bigger organization. There would be a supply chain head, a supply chain manager,
We
who
talked
are,
about the category management
yeah,
team only. We talked only about category management. We didn't talk about any other department.
yeah. So there would be a team that does all this. Yeah.
Yes.
But in a leaner organization, I'm saying that maybe it might fall into the work role of a buyer or a category manager. Some bit you would be doing, like, as allocators, we've kept a track of where our deliveries are. Like I said, that we had to keep, in India, we would know that this is the truck my merchandise is on, my order is on this truck, and it's traveling through Madhya Pradesh, it's about to enter Maharashtra. So we would like keep that as allocators. We were taking care of that. Yeah, but yes, I think that this gives you a perspective of what else is there. Yeah,
Hmm. Exactly. Makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah. I can't think of anything else. I think the only thing is maybe the way a warehouse is managed. That is also like the word you mentioned. What was the word that um like the warehouse has to run like clockworks, where the truck drops off the load of because in WH Smith, when I saw the warehouse here, there were literally like different locations for different trucks to for categories, and this is where they
Yeah.
drop
To
the merchandise, and then all the employees there would have a headpiece. So once you pick up your merchandise, it was all automated. It would tell you to walk to this bay, to go to this floor, to go to this shelf, and that is where it had to be placed. But before it was placed anywhere, there was like a holding space, like a marked space where the merchandise would sit, and there were like different places where different category trucks would come and drop off their merchandise. So some trucks dropping
oh
off
wow.
merchandise, some trucks taking merchandise. So they were like two different um yeah areas. So that's how it works. There's a lot to understand, even like when you think of a warehouse, how it's run. But yeah, so all this is like a part of the supply chain. I don't think we have anything else to add to this,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's yeah for today.
Yeah,
Yes. We
sure.
close. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye.